Talk about a great way to kick off the season. The lone game on Sunday in Week 1 gives us a top 25 matchup between the two teams that have produced the last two Heisman winners, as number 23 USC takes on number 13 LSU in Las Vegas. So get your popcorn ready because this is going to be a shootout in Sin City. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our exclusive expert picks. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country for one of the lowest prices in the entire country. So if you want to win big with us, if you want spread picks for this game and every other college game and NFL as well, this is the place for you. We've beat out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 6 years. We guarantee we will make it 7 by the end of this year. So go sign up today. Become a member of our GE Nation. It will be the best decision you make this season. I promise you that. So let's take a look at this game, guys. I am very excited for this Sunday matchup. This is a battle between two teams that have very high expectations, two teams that have very, very electric offenses, hence the shootout in Sin City. USC enters the game in their first game as a Big Ten member. You know, it's interesting for them because they were really disappointing last year. Had playoff aspirations, but went just 8-5, starting 6-0, but then went 2-5 down the stretch. This year, a lot of unknowns as they enter a very, very difficult conference, enter a new era for their program. LSU went 10-3 last year in the second straight 10-win season under Brian Kelly, but their season was pretty much over after a few weeks, starting just 3-2. So any hopes of the playoff last year were dashed very early when they lost to both Florida State and Ole Miss. But still, rallied the troops, finished 10-3, have very high expectations this year. Year 3 under Brian Kelly, typically a good one. But they're going to have to get a big-time opening win against USC if they want that to be the case. Take a look at the offenses for both these teams. We'll start with the Trojans. 41.8 points per game, over 460 yards per game last year. That's what they averaged. But will they be able to replicate those numbers now without Caleb Williams, who was the number 1 pick in the NFL draft? All eyes now turn to Miller Moss, who impressed all of us in their bowl win over Louisville last year, throwing for over 370 yards and 6 touchdowns in that win. He should thrive again. This is Lincoln Riley we're talking about. Everywhere he goes, he has very good quarterbacks. He's done it at Oklahoma, he's done it at USC, he's done it as offensive coordinators. This is going to be a very good quarterback and once again, one of the best offenses in the country. I would expect nothing less. But they do lose their top 2 rushers. That's a big loss for the Trojans. And they do lose their top 2 wide receivers from last year. But transfer portal, man. They went out and added Jaquavius Marks from Mississippi State, a very capable running back pickup. They do return Zachariah Branch at wide receiver, also a dangerous kick returner, and their tight end, Deuce Robinson. The biggest question marks for USC's offense right now are their pass catchers and their offensive line. The line loses 3 starters from last year from a unit that gave up 33 sacks. They've got to find a way to correct both those things, gel quickly with receivers, fix their protection. Miller Moss not going to have as much dual threat capability as Caleb Williams used to have. LSU, talk about losing some dual threat capability. Last year's Heisman Trophy winner, Jaden Daniels, now departs, was the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. They lose him and their offensive coordinator, meaning Joe Sloan will now be calling the plays in Baton Rouge. But like USC, LSU saw their budding star come out in the bowl game. Garrett Nussmeier had plenty of playing time before then in previous seasons, but really shined in their bowl victory over Wisconsin, where he threw for over 390 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Tigers' bowl win to clinch that 10-win season. He's a very capable quarterback, solid pocket passer, but nowhere near the dual-threat quarterback that Jaden Daniels was. They do lose their top 2 rushers from last year and 2 1,000-yard wide receivers. Kyron Lacey does return. C.J. Daniels, who nearly had 2,000 reception yards during his career at Liberty, do come in, as well as tight end Mason Taylor. But how quickly will Garrett Nussmeier be able to gel with a new pass-catching core? How well will Garrett Nussmeier be able to handle being the full-time starter? Not just a one-game starter, but the full-time starter for LSU. They do have 111 starts coming back on the offensive line, which is massive, but they are certainly going to miss the improvisation, the dual-threat running ability from Jaden Daniels. This team averaged over 500 yards per game, over 45 points per game last year. You can definitely expect LSU to take a step back in those statistics. Defense. Neither team was that great defensively last year. It was all offense for the Trojans and the Tigers, not much defense. And that was certainly the case for USC, but that's been the running theme for Lincoln Riley-led teams, right? He couldn't let go of his buddy Alex Grinch, and so they were horrible on defense at Oklahoma. They were horrible on defense at USC. But he finally cut ties with him. Alex Grinch leaving USC, now at Wisconsin, and he made a splash hire, honestly. Splash hire as their new defensive coordinator, D'Anton Lynn, stealing him from UCLA, just right down the road, getting him to come to USC. He had a top 10 defense with the Bruins last year, so we know what he is capable of. And he now has 9 starters back for USC. Mason Cobb returns at linebacker, the leading tackler for the Trojans last year. The defensive line has Jamil Muhammad, who had 6.5 sacks, and Bear Alexander, so a very strong defensive line, solid second level at the linebacking core. The secondary was pretty much completely rebuilt with transfers, with guys like John Humphrey coming in from UCLA, Akalai Arnold coming in from Oregon State, Kamari Ramsey coming in from UCLA, and then that's all in addition to Jalen Smith, who was the number 2 tackler last year for USC. So all in all, it looks like the Trojans on paper are a much better team. Not the team that's going to give up over 34 points per game like they did last year. Not a team that's going to give up nearly 200 rushing yards per game like they did last year. They've got a much improved defensive coordinator, a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. The question is, how quickly does that come together? Will it all come together in week 1 against this electric LSU offense, or will it take a few weeks to finally get things going where maybe USC can do more damage in Big Ten conference play? LSU, on the other hand, their defense was no good last year either. USC and LSU are so similar, guys, because they both lose their Heisman Trophy quarterbacks. They both have very capable quarterbacks coming in that shine in their bowl game last year, and they both have new defensive coordinators. We mentioned USC, D'Anton Lynn, LSU, getting Blake Baker, stealing him from inside the conference. So not just similar because they have 2 new coordinators, but similar because they both got new coordinators from teams within their conference. LSU hiring Blake Baker away from Missouri. The Tigers' downfall last year was their secondary. It gave up over 250 passing yards per game. They have to improve in that area, have to improve in the back 7. I believe they will. But the strength for LSU defensively, more than anything, is their front 7. That's what I'm excited about. 6 of their top 8 tacklers return, including 3 of the top 4 from last year. You got Savion Jones on the defensive line, number 1. You've got Greg Penn and Harold Perkins combining for 9.5 sacks last year at your linebacking core, and you still have your number 1 tackler as well in Major Burns, along with their cornerback, Zy Alexander, who had 7 pass breakups and 2 interceptions last year. So all in all, LSU, like USC on paper, looks like they're going to have a better defense than they had last year. And that front 7, I truly believe, is going to be nasty. It is strong. It is good. And it's interesting to watch out for. Miller Moss, it looked great in their bowl game. Will he be able to handle this LSU front, especially with the USC offensive line that has a handful of questions? So all in all, guys, this is a game between 2 teams that are much more similar and much more alike than people realize. But ultimately, we know these are 2 teams that want to put up a lot of points, that want to go fast, and we expect them to do just that. So I expect this to be a relatively high-scoring game. I don't expect either defense to immediately figure it out by week 1, especially facing off against a quality opponent that can score points. Neither of these teams are teams that are going to have to go through struggles offensively. Neither of these teams are teams that are going to go slow offensively, and so it's going to be a really big test for both of these defenses, no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, in this top 25 matchup, this lone game on Sunday, I'm picking LSU to win. I'm going with the Tigers to take the win in Las Vegas. I like this offense a lot. I think they can match USC step for step. But when it comes down to it, in a big-time shootout, I got to go with the defense that I think can come up with the stop when it matters the most. And right now, I believe that defense is LSU. I believe their front 7 does just enough in rattling Miller Moss. They force him into a handful of mistakes. It will be close. It will be high scoring, but the Tigers will prevail. It will be a great game. A great way to wrap up the weekend part of week 1, because we still have one more game on Labor Day Monday. But a great way to wrap things up. LSU 1-0. USC narrowly falls to drop to 0-1 in their first game as a Big Ten member. Going to be one of the better games of the entire weekend. Can promise you that. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube, taking LSU to take down USC, and what should be a fantastic game in Las Vegas. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos as we progress through this season. And also check everything out down in the description, including our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of those exclusive expert picks. If you want the spread picks for all these games, that is the place for you. You do not want to miss out on that. It will be the best decision you make all season long. Go check it out. The link's down below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.